It's March 11th, 2026, and you know why you're here, so let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I'm Jarisar. Am I still a WoW esports aficionado?
I think so. I think that's accurate.
All right. Well, what are you today?
I'm a PvP Padawan today. I don't know what I am today. I'm upset. At
what?
Training grounds being nerfed. That's what I am today.
Oh.
I'm mean. I'm furious.
Why are you so upset?
Because they detected fun and an easy grind, and they removed it. And they nerfed that ring leveling thing. I'm pissed. I'm unsubbing.
What
right
ring?
now?
What? Oh, the mushroom ring.
Yeah. What
was that? I never got a hold of that. I went through the zone, but I don't remember any mushroom ring.
So there was some quest. Like there's a small little quest chain, and eventually you got this quest, which sent you into this ring with 3 mushroom dudes following you. And you'd go to this corner and some angry mushroom dudes would attack you and you just kill them and then hand in the quest. But if you didn't hand in the quest and you got in a group with other people who are on the quest, it would constantly spawn these enemy mushrooms that you could just quickly AoE down and kill. Oh. So you just basically stood in this corner, farming these mushrooms. And it was honestly a bit boring. I didn't really enjoy. Like I did it for like a level and a half, and I was like, "Screw this! I'm gonna just go do delves for the rest of my experience." So I'm kind of happy they nerfed it. To be honest, I didn't really like it, but yeah, I mean, for some people that's how they were leveling alts, and now you can't do that anymore. So sucks for them.
This happens every expansion, though. There's always something that there's people can use, people can do, and every year, or not every year, every expansion, right? So I find that's boring as heck, though. I mean, I'm sure there's probably some boosters out there that are crying because they're probably making a bunch of gold leveling people, and now they can't do that. So oh well.
Yeah, well, it was a bit of a cluster because it was a thing that people were griefing. Like you needed to have specifically 2 groups of 4 was the optimal amount of people to have farming this location.
Okay.
But sometimes people would drop like the turnip training dummy on top of the mobs, and that would like mess with things. Like it was just people were being very toxic with this whole thing, which is understandable. Oh, and you just reminded me of something that upset me many years ago. I think it was Cataclysm. I don't remember when they introduced experience in BGs, but I distinctly remember at the beginning of Cataclysm, it was super easy to level in Alterac Valley. Yep. Like, I don't remember how much experience you got per game, but you could level within a few hours, which, in those days was insane.
Yep.
And then I remember Blizzard nerfed that pretty early on, and I was very sad about that because everyone was just spamming AV, and that was like win-win because you're farming honor and leveling. And Blizzard always removes the fun. Dang it.
Heaven forbid we not follow the storyline that they've crafted and worked on so hard to develop and build all these quests for us to follow. This whole storyline. And do that repeatedly over and over and over again, because that's where the fun is, right?
Yes.
Yes, it sucks. I don't know. Like there's so many different ways to level in the game. To be able to level from 80 to 90 in just a few hours seems wrong. I mean, let's be honest. It's an MMORPG, right? So at least now you don't have to finish the campaign quest with each tune just to get access to like world quests and all that stuff and go through all that thing, right?
Yeah,
like it is whatever. I am equally upset about Training Grounds though, because literally I had leveled 90 the day that they nerfed it. I was like,
Yep, me too. And
Uh,
my other minor gripe is the fact that I thought it was a bit weird that the campaign doesn't quite get you to level 90. Like it gets you to like 87, 88-ish. At least that it did for me. And it's like, well, what do you do now? Like I mean, I just did a bunch of delves for the last bit of my levels,
mhm.
but I could see that being a bit confusing for a new player, you know. They don't know what to do.
No,
Oh,
exactly.
Jake is here. Jake is here. He's spawned.
Oh,
He's spawned in.
whoa, whoa,
We see
guys!
him.
I didn't realize that, but at midnight some time ago there was a time change, and unfortunately I wasn't aware of it.
Only on one side of the world.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
Well,
What have I missed? What have I missed? Apologies.
no worries. Just listening to Big complaining about the nerfs to fun that have happened this expansion so far.
Oh
So-
yeah, that's true. No, that's true. It is. It's like hold on. You found a really good way of getting honor very quickly. I know. Let's nerf it by 50% because people are complaining that you shouldn't be able to do a mode and get honor if you're not playing against actual people. But realistically, you're grinding the honor so that you can play against actual people.
Yes.
Make it make sense.
No. Well, so here's a question, and we always have these conversations. I see them show up on social, and it's showing up in our Discord as well. But like for PvP, the leveling and gearing process is really just a time gate to getting onto the ladder and doing what we want to do, right? Like,
Yeah.
So, and so everybody's like, constantly, not constantly, but repeatedly, every so periodic time, people will make a post or make a complaint or suggest that we have, like we have on the tournament realms or over on the PTR where, here's your character, level 90, go to this vendor, buy a bunch of stuff, gear it out, start queuing, go, right? And I have to like, that kind of almost feels, it kind of feels good to think that would be good, but at the same time, like I've tried to make a tune, I made a tune on TR and for doing the AWC, and it takes like that's a few hours just sitting there, building your tune, getting all the gear, getting all the crafted gear, enchanting it, gemming it, setting it all up and everything. And then if you want to have multiple tunes, with different racials, so then you have to do it multiple times. That's not actually a lot of fun. That's actually kind of boring.
One of the most popular threads this week on the WoW Reddit, not the WoW PvP one, is about PvP gear. And the poster makes the argument that maybe we should return to some Legion type system. I mean, I don't know if they explicitly mention Legion, but the bulk of the post is like gear in on paper like shouldn't matter in PvP because ultimately, right, like we're there to fight each other, and the gear grind seems like it just kind of gets in the way of that activity. The end goal. I think my personal take as to why there's still these gear grinds and why PvP gear will always probably matters. I think Blizzard likes to have at minimum some sort of gate that slows players down, like I think it's part of the business strategy, right? Like just from we want our players to be as online for as the maximum duration as we possibly can. And I think the gear grind is part of that. But I in a perfect world, I agree, like gearing shouldn't really matter. Or gear shouldn't matter. But yeah, I think it's just part of the business model, and maybe that seems like a lame answer, but I think it's that simple.
I think there's a level of perspective on comparison as well. Like I think if you think back to BFA and even Shadowlands to an extent, where you consider the actual grind we had to do to get PvP gear, having to do PvE for it was in comparison to now where, yes, I can't play into bots and get 500 honor per win anymore. So sad. But before I had to spend 40 minutes to get for a potential chance at one bit of gear in order to actually gear in PvP. So I think sometimes like it's sort of the grass is always greener. We should not take for granted what we have sometimes, but it is an inconvenience thing. I think during that time period, we were all sort of either stuck inside due to COVID or, and we could play 12 hours of WoW every single day for weeks and months. So yeah, you know what, actually doing the Mythic Plus kind of makes sense. It kind of kept people involved, whatever. But nowadays, time has sort of made us busier. We've all gotten to a certain stage in our lives, as depressing as that is. Actually having a little bit of convenience, nothing wrong with that. And I think sometimes it may, at least for PvP, Mythic Plus aside and raiding aside, actually having a bit of something to do, something that gets you to the bit that you want to play faster, it shouldn't be a bad thing. We should be able to try and gear as fast as we possibly can, so that we can actually jump into arena and not feel like we're disadvantaged.
I also think this is one thing we've discussed in the past, I believe, that gearing in PvP these days is like an enigma. It's both easy and hard at the same time. It's both simple and complicated, rather. Like, if you are used to the system and know how it works, it's pretty easy to gear. I mean, it's pretty straightforward. But for someone trying to get into PvP, it's completely confusing, because there's so many tiers of gear. There's the obviously honor gear and conquest gear and war mode gear. There's crafted variations of that. There's also like that entry level green gear that you can buy from the auction house that's crafted. There's also now the 2 tiers of war mode gear. It's just it's confusing. And then like on top of that, I mean, knowing what your stat priority is and knowing about the diminishing returns on stats, right? Like everything is a bit sort of confusing if you don't know how to navigate that system.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's complicated. And there's got to be some way to simplify things. And I did like the Legion system because it made gearing really fast. Like it made gear still matter to some degree, but you could be competitive really fast, which was very fun. So there's got to be something in there that Blizzard could, maybe take inspiration from for, next expansion, if they ever decide to rework the gearing system.
Yeah, so I mean, this is the D&D gamer in me, like growing up years of playing D&D and everything like that, and various other RPGs. I kind of like that complexity. Like that was one of the things that I really enjoyed about Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, was because you had your different stats, and what you chose mattered. You couldn't just undo it, and there's all these little micro choices you had to make, and it made that complexity made the game fun to me. I will admit it's equally fun in World of Warcraft to me. It does get a little tiring to have to relearn it every 2 years. But I get what you're saying. Like, but I mean, it's no different. I guess this is the thing is, if a person has been playing World of Warcraft doing PvE only, I think maybe it's just jarring to them to feel like they're at the top of the game, know everything they need to know, and then go into this whole other mini game inside the game they've played and find out that half of what they know is useless, and they actually know nothing, because they know everything about their class or their spec, but like you said, the stat weights are different for PvP usually. There's no choices or talent choices that you're picking that you wouldn't have picked for PvE, but you need for PvP. Like all these different little these things, right? I feel like that is part of the challenge, the easy to pick up, hard to master part to the World of Warcraft. I guess the the difference here is like, back in the old days of vanilla, we didn't have these social places. We didn't have podcasts, really. We didn't have YouTube. We didn't have streamers that you could go and ask questions. So a lot of that information was just what you could figure out on your own. Now there's so much information out there. I find that it's not actually that hidden or that hard to figure out. The person just needs to go searching, right? So if anything, like gearing and everything is way easier today in today's world than it was back in vanilla, back in classic. Yes, there are some complexities there. The real feel bad part is if a person spends their conquest on a piece of gear, not realizing that it's the wrong piece, and then they have to wait.
I was just going to bring that up, like, especially now with the ability to convert pieces to tier sets. Like, I mean, you're not completely screwed if you don't buy the right piece of tier gear, but it does. So, I mean, realizing that you bought the wrong piece and then converting it, it's like, well, you kind of messed up twice, Yeah. And you can't get that conquest back, right? Nope. Once it's spent, it's spent.
I was saying more like, oh shoot, I bought the ring with crit rating on it instead of haste, right? And there's 700 conquest down the drain.
Also, I mean, another problem with the gearing system in the early season is you cannot play two different specs if you have two different stat priorities. Like, this is always a problem when I play Druid and I'm gearing for Resto, because I will craft some pieces with haste and mastery on them, no verse. But then if I want to play Boomkin, I have to have a lot of verse. Otherwise, you're just like a glass cannon at that point. And I just feel, rude queuing if I don't have verse. As a spec that gets trained a lot. So it's like I can't really play Boomkin until later on in the season. So it's, that's another problem that, there needs to be some way to fix that.
Don't you just play two of the same class for that reason?
Yeah, but then I can't. Then I encounter the same problem in reverse on the other druid. Then it's like, what if I want to kind of, play Resto on both, it's, but yeah.
But then you have 3 tunes.
And then I become Big Damn, you just infinitely make shamans.
Exactly.
But
I get it. You're not wrong. Like, if you don't have the time to play multiple tunes, if you don't have you don't have that bandwidth to have 2-3 of the same spec just constantly queuing and playing, then you're totally, you fall behind on the gear curve, and that sucks. Aside from, I understand, yes, we just spent 20 minutes complaining and that's okay.
And that's how we start off every podcast. We've got to get our complaining out the way so that we can be optimistic for the future, right?
Exactly. We have some complaints for later on. I got some in the back pocket, but positive, negative, or meh impressions. First week of Midnight. I mean, really, it's almost been 2 weeks for anybody that had Epic Edition access, the early access. First impressions. I want to hear from you, Jake.
First impressions. I mean, so I've only leveled 1 character. I aim to do a second. Kind of what you're talking about with bandwidth, Gareth. So I kind of realized I don't have the bandwidth to do multiple characters like I have them in the past. I definitely want to do just one. So far, I enjoyed the storyline. I thought the campaign was good. Yep. Far, far better than The War Within. Like, infinitely more. And I thought the leveling was all right. I think it's weird that it finishes you off at 88. And that's designed that way because they have a quest that says get to, the last push or whatever, get to 90. Mm-hmm. I think that's weird. I do think it's strange that in a modern WoW setting, the campaign does not get you to end level, or at least closer. And I think that is very strange. but I understand why, because they're trying to get you to do other content, and maybe there's other content that you might want to do, and other content you might have done around the other way. I just do think it's quite strange. However, so far, enjoyed it. I think there's a lot of parts of that I like. I think some of the writing is grim, like really cringe. Like I cringe listening to some of it. But otherwise, I think some of the systems are pretty cool. I think the PvP has been fun so far. I think there is a lot to kind of figure out, and I worry that they're going to nerf some classes very heavily on the 17th. I think is when I think there's going to be some patch notes. I think that's the big thing for me. Is like I think that's what I worry about, and I worry about PvE once again affecting PvP in those nerfs too. Because I think we all know what happens. That Death Knight are good for a little bit, and then they get heavily nerfed. Which is what I'm expecting, and especially makes me sad because that is the class I've leveled this time around to be able to do a bit of PvE, do a bit of PvP, and try something new with the Devourer spec as well, 4/3s. So we will see. Otherwise, back on demo for me. But hopefully neither of them get nerfed. Fingers crossed, guys. Right? Anyway, that's my first thoughts for week 1.
All right. I like it. I was just jumping here. So for me, I did a bunch of side quests when I was leveling as a disc priest, and I got to 90 before I even got to the Voidstorm zone. I actually finished the Heradir section, and then I was like, all right, I want to get a Voidstorm. I want to start PvPing, right? And then I was like, wait a minute. Oh, so I had to run through all of the Voidstorm campaign storyline as 90 just to finish it so I could actually get into the BG and see the world quests, get into the Slayer's Rise and do those world quests to get PvP gear and all that other stuff. Now, I will agree, the story was really good. I did have a personal issue with in the Voidstorm era, because little backstory here. I made myself a priest using the Legion Remix, and I joined the same guild that Big is in, the Divine Inquisition guild over on Moonguard. And so I have like this whole I'm a Lightforged Draenei holy priest, like truly a person of the light, right? And all that stuff. That's the kind of storyline. And then here I am running through this whole Voidstorm storyline, and spoilers, everybody, but the way that whole storyline goes through, and you end up, what you end up having to do, working with the shadow people, and then killing somebody who's from the Lightforged army. Like at some point there I was like, can I stop doing this? Like, but no, I had to do it. And that kind of really sucked, because I was like, I kind of agree with this person. Like, what we're doing here is really, really effed up. Right. But whatever.
As hell.
It was. I'm trying not to spoil it too much, but otherwise, I will say the story, the whole game feels good. You can definitely feel where some classes are overtuned. You can definitely feel where some classes are undertuned. And for the most part, though, I have faith that come the 17th, those hills and valleys are going to get flattened, and we're probably going to end up with a much tighter bandwidth or band of tiers for specs. But sorry, you're going to say something.
No, all I was going to say is I just agreed that I felt like that specific bit, spoiler free, felt forced on a character that didn't need to go down that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I at some point there was actually kind of hoping it was going to be like the normal, where you get the person down to like you take them out, but in real life, and then it goes to like a cut scene, and the heroes that are, the NPCs jump in. They're like, okay, we captured him now. We stopped him, and we'll take him back to jail or something like that. We'll put him in, something like that. Right. But that didn't happen. No Garrosh storyline there. No, it was completely just kill the person. Big. How about you? What were your first impressions?
I mean, I think Blizzard did a really good job aesthetically with this expansion. I mean, I think the last few expansions have all been like really beautiful, right? Dragonflight, War Within was pretty good. And I think just that strip of like that bridge between Sunwell and Silvermoon is like that is like spectacular just to fly across it. It's like so beautiful. So I like that, the every zone was, a bunch of eye candy, which I enjoyed. As far as PvP is concerned, I haven't really done much of it. I just started my honor grind, and just like Garrusar, I hit max level the day that they nerfed training grounds. So I was a bit sad, but and then I was playing on the beta, so I got to experience maybe what PvP will feel like once everyone's geared, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm gonna be playing Resto Druid first, and Resto Druid isn't the strongest healer right now, but I think that's fine. I think maybe some buffs are coming this week. I'm very curious how they. I thought it was interesting, by the way, how they explicitly said their tuning schedule. I don't remember them ever doing that in the past, because they said, okay, we're gonna drop some changes on the 17th. Then the race to World First is gonna happen, and there probably won't be that many changes during that time. Then the race to World First will end, and then we're gonna do some more tuning. So I thought it was very interesting that they communicated that. As someone who has to write videos that are accurate with tier lists, I mean, I personally appreciated that. But yeah, I mean, I think what I'm most optimistic for is that this feels, at least design wise, like a new expansion. In a way that the transition from Dragonflight to the Warthen didn't really feel like very transformative. As much as I miss certain abilities on certain classes and specs, it's like, I still am having fun pressing the buttons. And yeah, I think it's a good time to be a PvPer right now. I'm very optimistic for PvP, as long as we don't get some, Ret Apocalypse 3.0 or something, as long as there's nothing like that, I think we should have a very good season 1.
It's possible. I do think that's slightly possible, though. If I don't know if you played into any Ret Paladins recently, but they do a lot of damage and they just do a lot of healing. So I'm a little worried about that. However, we will see.
Yeah, we will see. Another thing that does a lot of damage and a lot of healing is Guardian Druids.
Yeah.
Yes.
Those things are monsters in PvP. I want to put this one out here. The roadmap they gave was all for PvE. So season 1's going to start on the 17th. They're going to take all of the data that they've collected over these past 2 weeks, and we'll see some class tuning on the PvE side, maybe some on the PvP side. I'm actually guessing that we're probably going to see another 3-4 day lag between the 17th to actually seeing PvP tuning. Aside from, I suspect some of those really monsters are going to get nerfed, like Mistweavers are probably going to get tuned down. Guardian Druids are not going to have the power they did. And there's another Windwalker monks, I think, are going to get tuned down a bit too. So I think we might see that on the 17th, but otherwise I'm suspecting we won't see real PvP tuning until like the 20th. Do you guys think I'm wrong there?
Well, funny you say that. I actually have a video coming out tomorrow predicting what Blizzard will nerf and buff. And I hope they don't release the patch notes tomorrow, because that would ruin the video. So I'm hoping that that there's a little bit of delay, ironically. But
I just wonder. Sorry, Beggar. Just curious. Where can I watch this video that you're talking about?
You can watch it tomorrow morning. Well, I guess it would be night for you. On the Skill Cap WoW channel, Skill Cap WoW PvP.
Interesting. And just out of curiosity, I think we have an affiliate code for that, don't we?
We do have an affiliate code with that site. So if you if you happen to use sign up with our affiliate code with the hashtag Technicallypvp, you'll get a discount on the subscription and help us out. But
yeah, sounds good. That's so useful. I think that's an incredible video to go and watch, and I think an incredible link to such an incredible website. Anyway, sorry, Beck, I interrupted you. Continue.
Oh, thank you for interrupting me, because I was about to say the same thing myself. Anyway, yeah, I think tanks are definitely going to be on the chopping block. Definitely Guardian Druid is probably going to get hammered with some nerfs. It's very rare that tanks stay good for very long in PvP. I think on the melee side, I think as Jake alluded to earlier, Unholy DK is probably going to be on the chopping block. I could see them nerfing Sub Rogue in some way.
Yes.
Just because, yeah, I suspect that was on a lot of people's radar on the beta. I ironically don't think they're gonna nerf Ret, and that's just a gut feeling. Like I've seen Blizzard do tuning enough times to kind of know it's kind of a predictable pattern of what they nerf and how they nerf. I don't see them nerfing Ret, even though I think Ret is really good. Same with Windwalker. I don't think they're going to nerf Windwalker, but we'll see. We'll see about that one because I know that can be a problematic spec. I think they're going to buff Arms Warrior. A lot of people have been complaining about that spec doing low damage, so they're probably just going to do the classic Arms Warrior buff where they give it like a flat 10% damage increase, or just buff Mortal Strike by 25%. That seems to be the fixes they've done in the past. Range DPS, I could see them nerfing Ray of Frost for Frost Mages. Even though Frost Mage isn't necessarily the best caster, I mean, that ability is doing a lot of damage. I could see them nerfing Shadow Priest Shadow Word Pain because they gave Shadow Priest a new talent that buffs Shadow Word Pain by 150%, which is a big number. Mm-hmm. And Shadow Word Pain is doing an absurd amount of damage if you look at their breakdown. Maybe see a Marks Hunter True Shot nerf to some degree. I mean, Marks Hunter is always tricky. I think Blizzard has a really difficult time tuning that spec because it kind of has a tendency to hit like a wet noodle outside of cooldowns, but then just like demolish HP during cooldowns. So I can see that being a problem.
It's funny you say that because chat was just mentioning that one too.
Oh, okay.
I'm guessing that they're probably going to dodge it because they seem to dodge nerfs quite often. Like you said, Blizzard has a hard time tuning them. So
another spec that I think dodges nerfs quite well is Devastation Evoker. I think they're really strong, and I mean they rarely get major nerfs. So I think that spec will be really good. On the healer side, as you mentioned, Mistweaver right now is doing absurd damage with Rushing Wind Kick and Jade Fire Stomp. I could see them probably nerfing one of those things. And knowing Blizzard, they're probably going to nerf some other part of Monk too, and then Monks will maybe be bad. And then Void Weaver Disc Priest is probably going to get some nerf because it was doing insane damage. Arguably, it was.
I mean, I love it that way.
Yeah. But I know that I saw some screenshots where Disc was the #1 damage in like a solo shuffle. It's just like, okay.
Yeah.
When that happens, it typically doesn't last for long. Then I could see them buffing Resto Shaman because, definitely the worst healer. Doesn't really do much casted healing. So they're probably going to buff some casted healing, and maybe they'll buff Resto Druid too. But I think what's interesting is usually when Blizzard tunes healers, they also sometimes sprinkle in some little baby buffs to like the middle of the pack healers, maybe they'll buff Holy Priest or something. So we'll see.
So here's the thing though, with the way, even with the CC reduction, the DR changes, the removal of a bunch of kicks, it's still my impression that instant casts are still king. And if Resto Shaman is still having to do hard casts, they're still going to be bottom tier for arenas, aren't they?
Well, Shaman is like Resto Shaman's a very weird healer because it feels really broken if Earthshield, Riptide, and Healing Stream are doing a lot. And the Shaman doesn't need to cast. Like that's the classic, like Shaman is OP if it doesn't need to cast. And those things can carry. But I know that they removed Earthen Wall Totem this expansion, which, was kind of a tricky ability. Little, shamans hated it, and because people would run out of it, but at the same time, it was a pretty strong cooldown. So I think, yeah, and shaman is tricky. And the solution is probably going to be buffing their casted heals, because that seems obviously weak right now. At least compared to like other healers. And I see them doing the same thing for Resto Druid, even though Resto Druid is in a slightly better position. The casted healing is just not great right now for those two specs.
Yeah.
Well, there's always an issue, really, isn't there, with our shaman, is that if you buff Riptide, they just become Riptide bots and they don't do anything, and they're just sitting there throwing out Riptide.
Yeah,
it's like, and it's a misery to play into, because you got a healer that doesn't go and doesn't cast. So how the hell are you supposed to stop that? Right? Like, you can CC chain, but CC chains are now shorter. So it's a difficult one. I think there's always going to be a problem with balancing, especially when you're looking at healers. I think that's the problem, is that sometimes in different expansions you can kind of feel where they've gone most of the nerfs. Like, are they heavily nerfing healers? Oh, well, games go really fast because healers can't keep up.
Yeah, and I forgot to mention the spec I feel honestly the worst for this expansion is Affliction Warlock, because they did two things. They redesigned Unstable Affliction so you can cast it now multiple times on the same target. I think it worked like that in Legion or something, one of the old expansions. You could do that. And I believe now Affliction Warlock doesn't have a secondary spell school. So previously it had some spell it could cast when it was interrupted. Now I don't think it could cast anything when it gets kicked. So that's a problem, where you have to spam cast your UA, and there might not be interrupt trackers, and you don't have a secondary spell school. So I think Affliction will be pretty frustrating to play unless they maybe buff some of its instant damage. Otherwise, I think you're just going to have to be a precog generating machine if you want to play that spec. I know they also, Demo is another spec you kind of have to cast a lot, but I know they made Dreadstalkers instant again.
Unbelievable change. Unbelievable change. It's so good. All right, sorry, go on.
So yeah, I think there's certain specs this time around, because of the pruning, that are just kind of structurally going to struggle unless they have good tuning. They're going to encounter these problems that no amount of buffs are ever going to be able to truly solve. Affliction is a big wild card for me this expansion. Luckily, Warlock, Demo right now is pretty good. Destro is really good, so you at least have options.
Yeah,
but yeah, kind of rough for some specs for sure these days.
Well, and I actually changed my Warlock to Destro because I was trying as Affliction and it just didn't feel right. Like, it was hard to play, so I was like, nope, moving to Destro. Incinerate, Chaos Bolt, done. Let's do this.
Yeah, it's big. Destro's big for sure.
Pardon me?
You should try Demo. Sorry, guys. I was saying Destro is big, and you should try Demo, but that's because I'm super biased, and I think Demo's fun.
I've never actually really gotten into Demo. Maybe I'll give it a try.
Very easy.
Yeah. Well, it sounds especially with the let the pets do the damage. I guess the last couple things. So, just want to circle back on the gearing thing. And this is kind of shout out to like things I heard in the community. I know Level Adam was posted something about this one. He's been pretty vocal on some of the things he's been finding. But so right now, Epic Bloody Token, what is it? The Bloody Token gear is the same PvP item level as Honor gear, I think.
Yeah, it was like that on the beta.
So we don't know if that's a bug or not. It's if it's been like that since the beta and they haven't changed it, chances are it's going to be going that way. So yes, we're going to have 2 tiers of gear there, but they're going to be the same item level. So that seems a little bit weird. So we'll see what happens. Then the other one, so just bugs that have been showing up. And I saw somebody else saying this, that you'll notice that your health isn't always the same when you go into Battlegrounds.
and apparently gear isn't scaling properly. So either because there's the background, I think in training grounds you go to 258 if you're below that, and in other sides like in regular BGs and that, you know how your the PvP item level is what the gear's supposed to scale to. Apparently that's not working. So like sometimes you're still item level 200 instead of whatever it's supposed to be. So we'll see what happens there. I don't know if you guys like to do brawls or not, but Shadow Pan is broken again. So the Shadow Pan brawl fails to make groups for some reason. This went on, I want to say, for over 2 years. It was broken, and Blizzard didn't notice until I think Mortai actually, when David was working as the dev for PvP dev, he actually like messaged him and told him, and they found out it had been broken for 2 years. So then it got fixed. I think that was middle of War Within, it got fixed, and now it's broken again. So hopefully it doesn't take them 2 years. We'll see. And if you guys happen to be playing in Silver Shard Mines in the training grounds, there's a section along the wall. I think I'm trying to remember which one. I think if you're playing Horde side and they come out on the Alliance side and they skirt the wall to head north to the top cart, they actually skirt the wall so close that it actually makes them out of line of sight, so you actually can't hit them. You have to wait till they pop out the other side. So there's a little something there going on. And I want to say there's some other bugs, but those are the main ones that popped up in PvP. Oh, sorry. One other one. Glaives you can also heal in Isle Conquest. They
I saw that.
Yeah. Area effect heals work on them. So glaives are unkillable. And so now everybody just rushes docks, and whoever gets the glaives wins.
Wild.
You know, speaking of those bots are so funny in the training grounds, especially on Silver Shard Mines, like the way they guard the carts. Yeah, they like stand in the center and kind of like, you know, wiggle. Like it's just funny to look at them. Like, you know, they play the objectives. I want that. I want those bots on my team. Like they stand in the correct area. It's funny.
Right?
Also, my God, I think it's the mage bot. I don't know if all the bots are like this. The mage interrupts so quickly. Like, my God, like you get kicked instantly by that mage. Like, oh my goodness.
100%. Good luck trying to improve your juking skills. Because like I think somebody said once in the in our podcast Discord that the bot kicked them so fast that they started casting and the cast bar hadn't even shown up on their screen and they got kicked.
Yeah. Those things are OP.
They are.
I want these bots on my team.
I don't know. I feel like they'd be throwing out kicks a little too much though. I think it might waste them a bit, right?
Yeah.
You could actually try to bait them using a non-speller or whatever, and then so like let's say you're Frost Mage, right? Like do something where they kick the Fire School and then you're just free casting. So
yeah, I also noticed the bots don't handle Shadow Meld very well. Like if you want to cap a base and you know there's like a kind of a skirmish happening and you can't because like a bot is attacking you, if you just Shadow Meld, like the bot instantly will target someone else and kind of just gets preoccupied for a bit, so you can usually cap bases pretty easily like that. But yeah, it's funny watching them running around. I was even so this expansion was the first time I've ever done follower dungeons. And it's even kind of funny watching the followers, like they kind of hop around like players. I felt bad because when I was doing those follower dungeons, I was like kind of chain pulling. You know, I was playing Boomkin and I was just pulling. I was like, I feel bad for this bot healer. Like I'm being a jerk. Like this, my team is struggling.
But they batter people. Like it's actually wild. The follower dungeons, they actually batter people. Like if you put them on lead mode and just follow them around, they'll take you everywhere and they'll just batter people. I'm like struggling to be top DPS. I bottom DPS. In fact, the tank's out DPSing me in the follower dungeons. It's wild.
And yeah, there's that one boss in Magister's Terrace where you can get locked out of the room, and that happened to me. And it's I just watched the bots just like destroy the boss. I was like, yes, brothers, go
Carry me.
Yes.
That's funny.
See, the PvEs get bots that help them, whereas we've got to fight the bots. And if you get too close to some of the bots without any assistance, you get absolutely clapped. So
Yep.
Right.
be careful.
Yeah, I know people were complaining that the hunter just like overpulls a bunch of stuff too in those follower dungeons. I'm surprised actually that if you're overpulling the dungeon like that, that there wasn't like some sort of like a pseudo vote to kick or something that showed up where it's like somebody tried to vote to kick you, but it didn't pass. You know? Maybe stop pulling.
Yeah.
That'd be funny. I will say though, the bots, they've done a great job on programming them. The AI bots in the PvP training grounds though, once you kind of learn how they interact though, you can actually kind of tweak them so you can like make them do things. So you know, stop them from running to an objective. If you like hit them, then they focus on you and do some other fun stuff. So they're not overly intelligent. I really do hope that we see some of their intelligence get improved, or that there's a bit of a learning algorithm behind the AI so that they improve over the season. I would love to see that. I think one last question, and this one I'm going to throw to you first, Big, because you are the person that makes guides. But we already talked about it. Tuning's still coming. Like, should we even trust guides right now, or can we? Like, I guess the classes aren't going to change. They're not going to make a major change. It's just whether the class is powerful or not. But
I think
I guess,
I think the way Blizzard designs classes these days is they put a lot of power into like a few core abilities, and I think the power stays with those abilities throughout the expansion. I'll give you a really good example. Like Resto Druid, you have a pretty straightforward gameplay loop where you put up Life Bloom, and you keep Life Bloom up no matter what. You know, you proc your Soul of Forest, you put a Soul Rejuve on someone, and you know that's the core of your rotation, and that really doesn't change too much with tuning. Where things typically change the most is in hero spec balance. So some hero specs, like a really great example, would be like Oracle versus Voidweaver. Like those are two distinctly different like the way those play in arenas, like they're not comparable really. So if you know you're itemizing or you plan on playing a spec like Voidweaver, you know there's a chance that will, you know, you're gonna probably wind up playing Oracle if it gets nerfed. I know that like the new Devour Demon Hunter, like its two hero specs give it two pretty unique play styles. So it really, I think what matters the most is the hero talents for some specs. But I think like for most of in many cases, the core gameplay loops don't really change too much, which is kind of nice. I mean, I still have some outstanding questions. Like for instance, haste now increases the duration of Shadow Dance as sub rogue, and I'm just wondering if, you know, if they wind up nerfing something like that could change the entire way you gear a sub rogue and potentially change your burst sequence a little bit. So it's that, like things like that are going to be a bit tricky. But I'd say the guides are, irrespective of any upcoming tuning, any guide you read is probably like 80% accurate even after the tuning. So I mean that's pretty good. You know, there's still a lot you can learn from any guide. So yeah, that's my take.
All right. What about you? What do you think, Jake? Concur? Disagree?
I mean, I think what I've learned nowadays is that no matter how hard I try and figure out what's right and what works best, I think I don't think I ever get it right. And I think you end up going to check PvP and just spam refreshing people to figure out what they're doing and what they're playing. I think the problem is, especially nowadays, is that we live in this time period where the elite PvPers are the ones that spend all day every day playing the game, So they know, and then they hoard information, and eventually it disseminates, especially if they're sort of like streamers or YouTubers and they've got information they can share.
Mm-hmm.
But I think when you get nerfs and maybe potentially buffs that come in that kind of fundamentally change things, like Big was saying, like if they nerf the haste sort of interaction with Shadow Dance, it's like it can really mess things up. And I think that's the problem with how volatile it is. So I understand like when why they sometimes feel a bit nervous about doing certain nerfs, but I think that you've just got to look at what is exactly causing big damage spikes, like spikes that are beyond normal. Is it the consistent damage that comes from unholy DK? Okay, maybe nerf some of the plagues. Nothing that massively impacts their burst, so they can still burst people down if they want to, but something that kind of makes them not like rot you to death, as an example. Or like is some of the so the damage that comes from Devourer a little bit undertuned? Do they need to buff it up, for example, in certain burst windows, like give a little bit of a percentage, like up 2%, see how it goes? That's the problem I've always had, is that they don't tune, they do massive swings all the time. So like they'll whack a 5% nerf to someone, like completely out of nowhere, instead of kind of going, let's start small and just see how things go with player feedback. Okay, we're gonna whack Unholy with a 2% nerf here, 2% nerf there, 2% nerf here. You got 3 nerfs there, but they're only 2%. It kind of reduces them ever so slightly, but it makes it a bit more manageable. And do that to certain classes that do unbelievable bursts, like can Sub Rogue hit, just get like a sort of a 2% nerf. And that's how I kind of want to see it. They'll never do it that way. I mean, I haven't really answered the question, but I've sort of gone with what I would sort of like, what I would like to see. But who knows? Well, at this stage, I think we're likely to see what we've discussed. But there's no way to know for certain. I think there may be some surprises, but I doubt there will be, really.
Yeah, I think you're right. I would like to see gradual nerfs. I don't think they have the time to do that, though, because they only have a short period of time between the 17th and Race to World First. Yeah, so I think you have a good point, though, Big, is where core gameplay is core gameplay. I guess it's that question of like, if it's this hero tree versus that hero tree, and how much that changes gameplay will determine whether or not a guide is still valid, or if it's gonna have to get completely rewritten, which time will only tell. Speaking of time, though, we're kind of hitting that time now. I want to skip over the one thing we changed and go to shout outs. To you first, I think, Jake. Do you have any shout outs?
You blindsided me once again. I am thrown under the bus. I'm joking. I think shout out to myself for turning up. No, I'm not shouting out myself. I think I'm going to do shout out to the Blizzard. I'm actually going to steal this from Big. I'm going to do a shout out to the guys that worked on the aesthetic for Midnight. I think Big is completely and totally correct. It is beautiful. It is stunning what they do. I think they do an incredible job with the new expansions of how it looks. I think aesthetically they've done so for the last 3. I think big shout out to them for continuing to create something that looks fantastic, and for WoW to maintain and continue to be not only just a beautiful game, but a game that runs very well and is quite smooth. And I think that's the thing that I always feel like when I move to a different game, like if I try an MMO for a first time, like even with Ashes of Creation, or which was meant to be the big thing, the big new thing that's got all this money going into it, but was totally bad in comparison, does not run smoothly. They do a fantastic job of that. So shout out to them.
I like it. Big.
Shout out to Venruki. I'm having a friendly, I don't know, beef with him right now. He made a video critiquing my tier list, and I will be dropping a critique to his critique tomorrow. So,
are we gonna have one of those like inceptions where we have like people reacting to your reaction?
Yes, I hope. And if he drops a reaction to my reaction, I'm going to counter with my reaction to his reaction to my reaction. It's going to go on forever, and we're never going to stop. But yeah, shout out to Venruki for being a good sport.
That's awesome. I'm going to do again another shout out to Pika TV for creating and putting together the North Rend live event that happened in Toronto there back in February. Really had a great time up here in Canada, and there's met so many other Canadian content creators, which is awesome. And ran into some non-Canadians. We allowed some American brethren to come up and enjoy that, which is the frozen north of Canada. But no, it was really cool. And I also want to give a shout out to ADHDD, because she is a Canadian content creator that streams, and she was playing on her Shadow Priest and doing some PvP. So I hopped over to her stream there, and we were chit chatting that, and she turned around. We followed each other, so that was really kind of cool. Anyway, but yeah, shout out to her, and to again Pika. I'm not 100% sure if it's going to go through or not, but the intention, it sounds like, is to do another another one of these mini or one of these community events in Canada next year as well. So that's going to be a good one. Oh, and yep. See you. Take care there, Lucky. Thanks for stopping in on the show and chatting, as well as to Mortai. Appreciate you guys being here live. Anyway, thanks for at that spot. Big. Do you want to tell everybody where they can find us?
Yes, I can do that. You can contact us directly on X at technically_PvP, or on Blue Sky at technicallypvp.bluesky.social, or by an email to technicallypvp@gmail.com. You can also join our discussions on our Discord, our not brand new, our revived Discord.
Yes, and if you want to, you can also visit the, as we were part of them once, the Bonus Roll website, where you can find the podcast directory with us and many other great shows, and that is at www.bonusroll.gg. This directory does have a review system, so please head on over there and tell everyone what you think of your favorite shows, including our own.
Indeed. Although we have stepped away from being part of Bonus Roll, they're still a great organization, and highly recommend you head over there and check their stuff out. As always, links for finding us are going to be in the show notes. Links to our new podcast, Discord, links to our YouTube, and all the other great stuff where you can find us on socials. So thank you all for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.